Hello, my name is Cindy Gomez-Schempp, and I am from the People's Press Project. In connection with Mexi-can.org, a project of the People's Press Project, and an ongoing campaign on information about immigration policy with local leaders, I want to talk to you about the new president's announcement on immigration. First, the president announced a new program that may help millions of undocumented immigrants. This new program is called Deferred Action for Parental Accountability, or DAPA for short. People who get DAPA will be protected from deportation and will get a work permit for 3 years. DAPA will not give anyone a green card or United States citizenship. Are you the mother or father of a U.S. citizen or green card holder? And have you been living in the United States since January 1st, 2010? If so, you may qualify for the DAPA program. Second, the president announced changes to the program announced 2 years ago for some people who came to the United States as children, often called Dreamers. That program is called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA for short. People who get DACA will get protection from deportation as well and a work permit for 3 years. DACA will also not give anyone a green card or U.S. citizenship. Did you come to the United States before you turned 16 years old? And have you also been living here since January 1st of 2010? If so, you may qualify for the newly expanded DACA program. If you got legal advice about DACA before and were told that you did not qualify, you may want to go and get legal advice again. Maybe the changes to the DACA program will help you now. The application process for DACA and DAPA will require a background check. You should get good legal advice about your case. But it's very, very important for you to get legal advice if you've had any contact with police or immigration services, including as a juvenile. Some types of contact with the police or immigration services means you won't qualify for DACA or DAPA, but other problems might be okay. It depends, and that's why it's very important to get good advice. You must avoid immigration scams. Don't pay any money to wait in a line for DAPA or the new expanded DACA programs. There is no line. When can you apply for these programs? At this time, you can't apply for DAPA, the program for parents of U.S. citizens and green card holders. That application period should start around May of 2015. You cannot apply for the new expanded DACA program either. That application period should start around February of 2015. But if you qualify for DACA under the old rules, you can apply at this time. People who need to renew their DACA can also apply at this time. For more information about the old DACA rules, visit weownthedream.org. There are many organizations ready to provide you with information about DAPA and DACA. Visit adminrelief.org for free information and to find legal help near you. There are many organizations ready to provide you with information about DAPA and DACA, but please check the other administrative relief information's websites or visit adminrelief.org to find legal help near you. Hello, this is Cindy with the People's Press Project, and today I am doing an interview with Anna Stenson. She is a local immigration attorney, and we are going to be talking about DACA or DAPA. First of all, I want to just start off by telling people what it is because there's a lot of confusion. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. On November 20th, 2014, President Obama made an executive action, which means he's taking his authority to decide in immigration enforcement practices. And one of them is DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which is for younger children, young adults who came to the U.S. undocumented. And the other part is for DAPA, for parents of U.S. citizen and green card holders.
So these are like the dreamers that we've heard about.
Yeah, part of the people included in this would be the people that we refer to as dreamers, the young children who came here and have went to school here. That's the DACA program.
So there's a lot of confusion about what this means for people and when it's going to be available. So tell us a little bit about when the program begins. Is it available now?
The program is not available now. If people qualified for the old DACA program, they can apply if they qualify for that old DACA program. The new expanded DACA program and the DAPA program are not going to be available for at least a month or so. The DACA expansion we're supposed to get more information February 15th or so of 2015. For the parents, that's actually going to be probably more May 2015 before immigration is even going to tell us what the process is. And so it's not until some point after that where people can actually start filing applications.
Whoa. So we're going to need updates, of course.
Yes.
And would you be willing to give us updates so we can update the public?
Yes, most definitely. And I think the one thing is going to be is the closer we get to those deadlines is we're going to get more information that's specific to, who's covered, who's not covered, and exactly what documents and papers and the process is going to look like.
So, important for the folks to know out there is that the program hasn't started, but people can start getting information about what's going to happen and who might be eligible for this program.
Yes. Right now, the president has kind of sketched out certain things like you have to have been in the United States by January 1st, 2010. You have to show that you were actually in the U.S. when he made the announcement on November 20th, 2014. So we know that there's pieces of information that everyone is going to have to show. We also know that not everybody is going to be qualified. So there's going to be people who might have been arrested or have had criminal charges before that, they might want to start talking to somebody to see if they can determine if they're qualified or whether or not there's something they can do to maybe, maybe expunge their criminal record or, address their criminal history so that they can become eligible.
And to be clear, when we talk about criminal history, could someone have a criminal history, for example, if they had a traffic violation or a citation for something?
A traffic citation for something like speeding, we believe, should be fine. However, with the DACA applications, we know that having something like a DUI or a drinking while driving or a drinking offense can make you ineligible.
So you really do need to sit down with somebody like yourself for those other details and find out for sure. You have to talk to an experienced attorney about that kind of thing, correct?
Yes. And even things if you had to go to court as a juvenile, some of those actions, any of those times that you have to go to court even as a juvenile might affect your ability to qualify for the DACA or DAPA eligibility.
Okay, so there's a lot of very complicated twists, and hopefully the listeners, if they have any questions, can contact you. We'll give people your information at the end of the podcast. But going back to the information part, because we don't have all the information yet, and we're going to be getting updates hopefully from you. Are there resources out there that folks can find online or in their local communities? Where can people go to find more information about this on their own?
One of the best resources is going to be going to the immigration website itself. They're the ones that's going to have the forms and going to give more details about what the actual process looks like. And they're the ones who are going to be like, yes, this is the date you can start filing. That website is www.uscis.gov. Looking into, there's some immigration-specific nonprofits that provide immigration legal services. Those are going to be other good sources of information. In Minnesota, there's also mnlawhelp.org.
Could you repeat that?
mnlaw.org. It's a program that's part of all of the different legal services programs in the state of Minnesota, and they're going to be having some self-help how-to guides that are going to give a little bit further information for individuals who think that either want to find out more information or think that they can, file the applications on their own.
Are materials available on these resources in languages other than English for those folks who don't speak English?
Yes, I believe the stuff that the Minnesota Law Help group is going to do is going to be in both English and Spanish. There's also some national resources, unitedwedream.com.
unitedwedream.com.
And a couple of other groups that are going to have information both in English and Spanish. There's a new collaboration of all of these different national providers doing immigration work. That's Administrative Relief, and they actually have a resource center that's up that people can start looking at that says, these are the documents, that we think you're going to need. This is things that you should be concerned about. This is when we think people are going to be able to start actually filing applications. And
this is a site that I took a look at it. You sent me the link for it, and I really liked it. It seemed to have a lot of information in a lot of different languages for folks, so that people can really point anyone toward this resource and find helpful information about upcoming things that they might need. Now, we're talking about these resources because there's some places where you can get assistance, and then there's also the possibility of getting some misinformation or possibly being defrauded. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Especially in the Hispanic community, many people are used to hearing notarios, which were in Mexico and in many Hispanic Latin American countries. The notarios are authorized to help people as if they were lawyers. But here in the United States, they're not authorized by the U.S. government to help people complete those forms. So oftentimes, people will hang out signs suggesting that they have the authorization to help people. And so we want to caution people from paying somebody right now to help them fill forms that you can't even apply for today. And making sure that if people think that they're eligible for any of these programs, that they're getting quality, qualified legal representation, because if somebody makes a mistake or provides false documents or documents that aren't theirs or miss something on their application, they're not going to get the DACA or DAPA now, but they might not be eligible for anything in the future.
Ever.
If
you make a mistake.
Yes.
That's a possibility
Yes.
that could happen. So that's pretty serious. What you're saying
Yes.
is if you make a mistake with the wrong information, thinking that a notario público is going to help you out, you might end up being ineligible forever.
Yes. And the same
Wow.
thing if you shouldn't be, if you're not eligible for DACA or DAPA and you file an application and you've been arrested for a crime that's high on the deportation list, by filing that application you could actually find yourself being deported because you're high on immigration's priority list.
So it's really important to talk to somebody that has the legal background that can inform you specifically, because as an attorney you have the training to actually know which situations are recommendable for people to file under and which would not be. And
if you go to an experienced immigration attorney or an experienced immigration accredited individual, not only are they going to visit with you about whether or not you're eligible for DACA or DAPA, but with most of my clients, I screen them to make sure that they're not eligible for something else. I've met with people who didn't realize that maybe they have a claim to U.S. citizenship and they never knew it. Maybe they had an old application that somebody filed for them years ago that somebody had told them, oh, you can't do anything with that old application. And so it's not only screening them if they're eligible for DACA or DAPA, but there might be people out there who actually are eligible for a green card or something even better than DACA.
Wow. Yeah, because, DACA, a lot of people think that or are confused about what really DACA or DAPA are going to give them. And they may feel that this is a way for them to gain citizenship.
Yeah, and unfortunately, DACA and DAPA is not a way for somebody at this point to get a green card or even get on that path for citizenship. It's deferred action, which means immigration is going to recognize that they're here without papers, but immigration is going to agree to not deport them as long as they have no other criminal, as long as they don't have any criminal activity and don't do anything else.
So do I apply for DACA, and now that I have been given deferred action eligibility, that means I can work legally also? Does that also mean I can work?
Yep, that is one of the biggest benefits that somebody gets if they qualify for DACA or DAPA, is that they're going to get protection for not being deported, and they're also going to be able to get a work authorization card so they can start working legally. And once they have a work authorization card, they're going to be able to get a U.S. Social Security number, and in most states they're going to be able to get a valid driver's license.
Wow. And so that's not citizenship, though.
No, it is.
And it's not residency.
Nope, it is not a green card, and at this point there's no way to go from that. If you stay in DACA status for so long that you're automatically going to get a green card. That's not the case.
Is there any kind of concern that if you have DACA status for a certain amount of time that you're going to be deported or kicked off once you hit a certain number, or anything like that?
At this point, we believe that as long as you have DACA, as long as you don't violate any other immigration rules and laws, that you're going to be able to have that deferred action eligibility. Now, hard to predict what's going to happen in the future, but we believe in terms of the priority of the people we want to have deported, that the people who have DACA and DAPA are going to be lower on the list than somebody who has, criminal history. So, yes, there might be a risk that DACA or DAPA is going to end in the future, but in this very moment, you get work authorization, you get protection for a period of time, which might give you, if you finally get your work authorization card, then you can start working and saving money.
Right. Okay. I want to talk really briefly about folks out there. They're like, okay, I'm going to go on these websites. I'm going to try to find out what I need to do. What is something that people can do right now at the end of this podcast that they can start doing to get ready? For example, is there some paperwork that maybe if they don't have it, they should go out there and get it?
Yep. First and foremost is all of these applications, you're going to have to pay a filing fee to immigration when you file your application.
Give me a ballpark figure.
Right now they're saying it's going to be $465 whether you apply for DACA or DAPA. So the first thing is, for people to start making sure they're saving money so that they can pay that filing fee, because if they're going, we believe, like the original DACA eligibility, that it's going to be very difficult to get a fee waiver. So almost everyone's going to have to pay that fee. And
it's $460 per person.
Per person.
Not like for a whole family. I can't do it, right?
Nope. So if you're a family of 4 or 5, you need it's 465 times as many people that's in the family.
Okay, and so what other kinds of important documents might I need that I should probably start getting ready?
Well, you're going to want to have some sort of identification document, whether it's a passport, a birth certificate, something that proves who you are.
So if I don't have one of those major things, I'm going to need to get it somehow.
Yes. And the Mexican consulate just announced that they're reforming their policy so that Mexicans can actually get their birth certificate through the consulate rather than going back through the Mexican government.
So if I'm in Minnesota, I could go to Minneapolis to the consulate and get my birth certificate or my passport or something.
Yes.
Cool. That's very good information. Anything else that people should get?
Information about when you came to the U.S., because you're going to have to prove that you were in the U.S.
in documented form.
Yep, any better documented form, and that's one of those where we'll talk later about what different types of papers you might have.
Right. We'll get into the details.
But anything that shows, when you came to the U.S. and
Okay.
You're going to have to show that you've been in the U.S., this whole entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So not only just when you came to the U.S., but also information that shows that you've continued to be in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And the key fact is you're going to have to show that you were actually here in the U.S., on November 20th, 2014. So if you were working, make sure that you ask your boss for...
Well, but what if I was working under the table?
Well, right now...
Am I going to get my boss in trouble? Because he probably doesn't want to get in trouble for...
Well, and that's going to be one where every boss is going to be a little bit different. You might want to just tell your boss, I need proof that I worked on this date. Mm-hmm. Or if you have your pay stub that shows...
Is there any indication from this administration or from Homeland Security and Immigration that they're going to go after any kind of employers that are providing documentation or information about people that they've been providing employment to?
Right now, immigration says that for people who are just filing for DACA and DAPA, that immigration isn't going to use that information to go after them or their family members unless unless they fall into one of those higher categories.
Right, but what if it's just a person that's giving them documentation that they had been working for them or...
Well, and that's one of those, again, I don't think that we can make any guarantees, but immigration has given reassurances that, the information when it's submitted is only to be used for that application.
So one would assume that if they're not going to be going after the people that are filing for it, they're actually not going to go after anybody else either.
Yes, yeah. Now, if immigration finds out that, that employer is in some sort of scheme or fraudulent activity,
right.
that's something else. But for going in and getting proof that you worked that particular day, I think that the person's going to be fine, and it's likely that employer is going to be fine as long as there's no other cause for concern. Or if you're not working, even if it's a bank statement or a receipt from something that you bought around that time frame, those type of documents that are going to help. Now, if you're applying because you're a parent of a U.S. citizen, then you're going to want to make sure that you have your child's birth certificate. And there's some concern about if your name isn't on the birth certificate, but together those type of eligibility documents that we have now. If you've ever been arrested or had to go to court or been accused of a crime, you're going to want to make sure that you have those records to show that attorney or the person who's helping you out.
Do I need to have my history of arrests from here or from my origin country as well, or does that matter?
Right now, we think that all you're probably going to need is your records from what happened here in the U.S., but if you were in trouble back in your home country, that might affect your ability to get DAPA and DACA today.
Wow, so complicated, so many issues. I really thank you for helping us navigate some of this stuff. I hope that you come back and do another podcast and we can talk about other issues that might come up. We plan on talking about the expansion of DACA and finding out more about what that could entail. Also, DAPA for parents, talking more in detail about those documents, about traveling, and also the ins and outs of the criminal history stuff. There's a lot of important issues that we'll be highlighting in our future podcasts. Listen in. Check out the information online. We will put links to the different resources that we talked about in this podcast today. And if you could give folks your information right now, we'll also have it available online. So if people want to call you or have questions, how can they get a hold of you?
My office number is 701-298-7720.
Do you have a website?
Not yet. I'm working on getting that finalized so it'll be up and ready for people to be able to get information on these new processes.
Fantastic. Ann Stenson, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
This is Cindy Gomez-Schempp, and you've just listened to a podcast of the People's Press Project. We will be hosting a series of podcasts discussing topics related to the President's announcement on immigration, which will be broadcast in English and Spanish. Please share them and help us spread the word. To find out more information about this or other podcasts and online media, visit our websites at fmppp.org, mexi-can.org, or like and follow us on Facebook at the People's Press Project, Mexi-can, and find us on Twitter at @media_PPP.